Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Now in this video, I would like to discuss what you should prepare if you are to lodge a general skill migration visa, which including the independent skill migration and also the state sponsor. It's a very commonly asked question and the most acquire visa that the applicants or who wishes to migrate to Australia will first seek about. The reason why is that the independent or general skill migration get you permanent residency straight away, and there is no other requirement or obligation, for example like the employer sponsors kind of visa or business investment visa. There is conditions towards gaining and becoming a permanent residency later. It's awarding and also it provides you a straight away permanent residency. However, because of that advantage, there has been a lot of people trying to apply for it, and thus a lot of people know that the EOI score system now has a very high mark in order to actually meet that requirement to be invited. But anyway, let's get into the system and the web page and have a look what you should be prepared and get ready for your general skill migration application. So the first thing is that we jump into the immigration's web page of what I call skill independence visa subclass 189. It's the common most advantageous visa category whereby you get into permanent residency straight away, provided you have meet the point test stream and be invited by the federal government, the Department of Immigration. Department of Home Affairs nowadays. Anyway, so first thing first, you need to be invited. That's pretty obvious. And I wanted to jump down here to you need to be at this certain age. You cannot be above 45 years old, and this is something that you cannot prepare for. So anyway, you should be under that age, and obviously got the points required. Now this video will not discuss how many points and what sort of score you actually get. I've done that in previous video. You might want to refer to that video there. So the first thing that you are required to prepare for is the skill assessment. So according to whatever the occupation they are in, you should get yourself prepared and get a positive skill assessment. So without a positive skill assessment, you cannot even be within this EOI system. You cannot even be invited. Even if you get invited and you punch in the error or whatever the skill assessing numbers, you'll get rejections anyway. You have to have it before you actually can put it in EOI, and this skill assessment will be valid for 3 years. And I'm giving you 3 examples of the skill assessing authority that we can talk about today. So one is the vet assess. It's most commonly used vet assess because it covers about 70% of all the occupations for Australia. So if as you can see on the left hand side, where I can move that around on here, you see there's a professional occupation, there's also trade there. The website is very useful because it provides you the step-by-step what's required, and even give you the search button, so you can actually punch in whatever the occupation they're in, and they can tell you what exactly your work or whatever the detailed description of the duty should meet the requirement. It even provides you template of what references shall look like. They shall have titles, letterhead, date, whoever's assigned, how many hours, what is your remunerations rate required to be there. So that's vet assess. Now the other one is Trade Recognition Australia. Now this is more for tradesmen, so that includes chefs, carpenters, mechanics. Now there are so many categories here, so a lot of people get very confused. So I'm gonna take a little bit of time to explain here. Now if you have studied abroad and you're in Australia now and you just graduated, then you should be choosing job ready program for this purpose. And if you are seeking for employment sponsor, then you need to go to the TSS skill assessment. Now there's an offshore skill assessment as well as migration skill assessment. Now the differences here is it's both of these are used for general skill migration. So I will consult to use migration skill assessment rather than offshore skill assessment. It's more for offshore skill assessment. It's more for employment working purposes, but migration skill assessment has a wider scope that including the independent skill migration. So that's for trades recognition Australia. And the other one I wanted to introduce is the ACS, Australian Computer Society. Now bear in mind, in my channel there's a playlist of all the skill assessing authority that go through detailed explanations. You may want to go there and refer to whatever the skill that you're in. You can pick it there. Now ACS, the Computer Society, they supposedly be more of IT savvy type of website, but again, I'm not a big fan of ACS website now, because the detailed content is not in the white background part. It's more into the darker. You see down here, normally people will refer a website down there will be more of contact us and all that detail, but the meat is actually here. So it gives you the criteria, application guideline, and also the fee and cost here. So that's for all the ICT people. They're in database, cybersecurity, software engineer, whatever. Network security and things like that. Okay, now that's for the skill assessment. So without skill assessment, you will not be able to actually get into the general skill migration pathway at all. So that's very, very important. Now while you're lodging for a skill assessment, what else can you do? Now I'll really advise you to actually take a good look of your English and take an English test. Now I'm gonna take you here where it shows that competent English, that's equivalent to IELTS 6 in each of the 4 components, or TOEFL of at least 12 in listening, 13 in reading, 21 in writing, 18 in speaking, or at least 50 for PT for all the 4 components. That's for competent English. Now bear in mind, competent English is only the minimal requirement to actually enter into general skill migration. So it doesn't award you any points. It's 0. So the best thing, I would prefer at least that if you wanted to do a general skill migration for Australian visa and migrate to Australia, you will require to have a proficient English at least, because that's at least you get 10 points adding to your English fluencies. Otherwise you get 0 for your English language mark, and that's of 7 for IELTS, or 65 for PTE, or B for OET. Now if you are really proficient enough, you might want to challenge on a superior English level. That's an IELTS equivalent to IELTS 8 across the 4 bands, or PT of 479. I've seen over the years, I've seen many people actually achieve this, so it's not unachievable. I believe it if you're good enough, I believe that's one way to go. Now coming back to the general skill migrations, you may see this character thingo. Now I like to take a little bit more time explain what's required to be prepared here, because generally in a lot of videos of mine will never explain this, which is going to be the Form 8T, Form 80. Now Form 80 is very important. Whatever the application, if you want to migrate to Australia, Form 80 is required, mandatory. As you can see, it says personal particular assessment including character assessment. So I'm going to go through a little bit so you get a glimpse and you get prepared what it's coming up for you before you can actually lodge this visa. So in the first 4 pages, pretty easy because it's only oops, I'm sorry, it jumps out. What happened there? Okay, here we go. I'm sorry about that, but anyway, let's go through it now. Now the first 4 pages is quite easy. It's basically ask for your name, date of birth, gender, your region or place of birth, and your passport details. And also here ask for whether you have any expired previous passport or any other ID. So there, some countries do issue national IDs for you, or other driver license ID perhaps. That's all way of identifying yourself. And then ask for your contact details, so email, phone number, past 10 years of where you live. So you need to actually have all that addresses and inserted in here, and also the past 10 years of where you have traveled. So that's a hard part. You might want to seek for the department's movement records in order to generate, for example, for a lot of our holiday or business travelers, they've been a lot of places and they only got five spaces here, you can't squeeze in there. So you might want to get a movement records from the country of origin of your passport, and then I think that would be easy way to actually get to know all these details and dates. Otherwise, you might want to check all your air ticket itinerary, which is painful, especially for the past 10 years. I would rather think about getting something extracted easier. Okay, and the employment details. So you need to enter all your previous employed detail from the date and from and date to, names of business, type of business, your occupation and address of business, and the country of the business. So you need to get that all done, especially for general skill migration. If you seek for employment points, you have to have that there, and also have the supporting evidences attached as well. Education is vital because you need to have that. Otherwise you won't get points here. So again, full name of institution, full name of your whatever you have studied. Now interestingly, there has a tick bottom here is withdraw. So if you have studied any courses that you did not complete, you're still required to put it in. Okay, now this page actually asking whether you are in Australia or when do you plan to come to Australia. It's not really vital, but if you do have a plan and have those details, you might want to put them in there, and whether or not you know where you're gonna stay or who you're gonna stay with, you need to insert it here too. Now part J asks for all your previous Australian visa history, so whether you have came with a visitor visa, traveler's visa, working holiday, student visa, you're required to put that all in there. Now character part, now this basically asks you, have you committed any offense, illegal activities. Now if you do have any kind of these stuff, I'll really suggest you to consult with a lawyer or your migration agent who has the capability of understanding what sort of law and how you can actually get around it. Now bear in mind, getting around it doesn't mean not to declare it, because if you did not declare it and immigration found out you have this history, you may be putting onto a PIC 4020 for a misleading information, and that will cause for a visa rejection or cancellation in the future. So declare as whatever you had and consult with the legal professions. Okay, any military services you have done, employed by intelligence agencies, visa refusal of any countries, deportations, citizenship refusal, you need to declare all that. Again, this part, if you do need required to tick yes, consult with the professional lawyers in regards to the consequences and the success rate. If you do have these kind of things in there, consult with a professional legal advisor. Okay, and the part Q, that's all your relatives. That's a direct blood relatives, like partner, children. You need to declare all of them. Your parents, your birth parents, your sibling, brothers and sisters, you need to declare all of them. And finally, on the last few pages, whether or not you know anyone in Australia and your sponsor, if you are an employer sponsor. And part S basically wants you to get that sign, meaning that you consent that all the information that you declare is true and correct. That's for the video today, and should you have further questions, more than welcome to leave a comment right down below, and you should consider to subscribe to my channel, so once we have more video and more update information, you'll be the first one getting it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.